So let's start with Donald Trump Jr., unfortunately. And he did this interview with Benny Johnson advertising the new Trump phone. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, another way to monetize the presidency. But he, aside from just his normal bizarre mannerisms, said so many wildly inaccurate, mind-bending statements here. So I do want to review it. Before I play this first clip, if you're not familiar with Don Jr., producer Cole put together a little while ago a nice tribute to him. Here it is.
I know, luckily I don't snort all cocaine. Joe Biden is the guy they're gonna call Kimberly for press secretary. Perfect. You know what? That'd be great. You can do like 6 days a week in Washington, D.C. I get peace and quiet. Everyone wins. Don't tell her I said that. That would be trouble. Imagine if it was Don Jr. smoking crack with prostitutes. Here we go. Well, oh boy.
All right, so that's the Don Jr. that we're talking about. And that brings us to this, which is, first, he's going to make false claims about trans people, then about the Minnesota shooting, and then he's kind of giddily talking about arresting Gavin Newsom, Tom Homan arresting Gavin Newsom. So all over the place. But here's him claiming that trans people are the greatest terrorism threat or something.
It's like the radical transgender movement is per capita the most violent, domestic terror threat, if not in America, probably the entire world per capita, because you have all these shooters and murderers or attempted murderers, in such a tiny population of a country, and yet they can't. They're beyond reproach, Benny. If this was any other group, you see it.
So you know that one time Donald Trump Jr. woke up in a dumpster wearing a baby bonnet, with police officers standing over him, and he said, "Daddy, where's my daddy?" And they said, "What? Who are you?" And he said, "Donald Trump Jr., my daddy is Trump Sr." And they said, "Sir, you just killed 1,000 people on a serial killer bender using only binky babies to smother them." That statement was as true as the statement that Donald Trump Jr. just said. So no, why don't they ever they don't care is why. But look at research. Trans people are not more likely to be violent than cisgender folks. But do you know what is true? They are more likely to be victimized by violence than their cisgender counterparts. So he's just lying there. And then, speaking of actual terrorism, Vance Belter, who shot the Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, and they died, and then two other individuals, a state senator and his wife, who survived. And we're going to talk more about the details of that later in today's show, but there's this effort by MAGA to just lie and pretend like the shooter, who his roommate confirmed he voted for Trump, was a Trump supporter, hated Nancy Pelosi, hated Tim Walz. His list of people that he wanted to go after were all liberals and abortion providers and Democratic lawmakers. But instead of just acknowledging that and saying, hey, that's terrible, instead it has to immediately be, no, he actually might be a leftist. He's a leftist, actually, which is what Don Jr. perpetuates here.
Thought the other day with the despicable shootings in Minnesota, they're sitting there, oh, please be a MAGA guy. Please be a MAGA guy. Oh, it happens to be a Tim Walz appointee in his own state. He happened to go after a Democrat legislator, but it seems like he went after a Democratic legislator because she voted against Democrat Party policy, which was the unabashed, unlimited health care funding for illegal immigrants. She actually had a common sense approach, which is to say, hey, let's give American taxpayer dollars to Americans, not to illegals. Let's not bankrupt our healthcare system, bankrupt our coffers. I understand that's incredibly popular with the Democrat Party. They have to give these things to illegals because no one else is voting for them anymore. So they want to stack these cities. They want to stack these voter rolls. They want to influence the census so they get more votes, and they can push their asinine policies that have failed America. But, the amount of rhetoric saying that this is going to be a MAGA guy. He's literally a Tim Walz appointee in Minnesota. I have a feeling that leftist Tim Walz isn't exactly appointing conservatives. Apparently he had the No Kings flyer in his thing, but he went after someone that didn't just blindly follow Democrat radical leftist dogma and actually voted in something that makes sense for the people who are footing the bill of these policies and these plans. So it's scary stuff, but it seems to all be coming from the left.
I don't even know how to process. I said this about Mike Lee in the segment that for main show viewers you'll see later, but he was joking about the shooting, saying Nightmare on Wall Street. And I don't know when I look at a person who's another human being being willing to be that dishonest. It just about this type of subject. Okay, it's one thing to be dishonest about your phones and how great they're going to be, but about this subject, I don't know how you could do that. So I'll address more thoroughly in the other segment, but to quickly go through it, Vance Belter was obviously, abundantly, unequivocally a Trump supporter, as his friend and roommate confirmed, and as his personal history confirms. That doesn't make it more or less tragic. That's just the fact of the situation. And this desperation to pull out little details to say he must have been some radical leftist is just them. You know, what's interesting is it kind of shows their own guilt. Like, if someone is radicalized and they end up being a right-winger who also is deranged enough to go after people, that's not necessarily the fault of the right-wing ideology. It could be the derangement, right? So they could say, hey, this doesn't represent our ideals. Like when a left-winger does an act of violence, I say that he or she, they're not in my movement, but that's awful. But instead it has to be, no, it's to reduce their own guilt about maybe feeling like they do escalate tensions and provoke violence with some of their rhetoric. Then they have to throw it on the other side, even in a case where there's not really ambiguity. The little notes that they're using to mislead people are the no king sign, which he also wore a police outfit and wasn't a police officer. He might have been planning to go to a protest to do more violence, which would have been terrible. Or other explanations. And then the appointment, which was a nonpartisan, people of different political ideologies working on this workforce engagement advisory board. Just really horrifying that they're lying so clearly. Then watch this. Okay, get ready. You know how Tucker Carlson has this laugh? That I normally want to celebrate and appreciate laughter because it's so good, it's healthy for you, it makes other people joyful. But sometimes the laugh, it makes you scared, like Tucker's. Yeah. No, and so a little trigger warning, get ready because Benny's going to have one of those laughs. Please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show. This is on the subject of now MAGA's just giddily saying, oh, when is the Trump administration going to arrest Gavin Newsom? Which Trump was asked about and said, yeah, I would love that. Then asked what crime, and he said running for governor was Gavin Newsom's crime.
Soon to be Tom Homan arrest of Gavin Newsom. Okay, we're crossing our fingers here. We're waiting to go live for that one.
Hey Benny, no one is above the law. I've heard that one for no one's above the law unless you're a leftist, right? Like that's basically, the plan. No one's above the law unless you're a leftist. But in this country, no one is above the law, and we got to make sure that we actually enforce that law equally.
Why does Don Jr. always look like a puppy that just got out of the pool? He always looks like that. It looks like he's about to go and like shake off his... Okay. ChatGPT, give me instructions on how to do human laugh.
That one. Hey Benny, no one is above the law. I've heard that one for no one's above the law unless...
Ugh. In a response, Gavin Newsom said, promo code ARREST for 15% off your Trump phone. It's just, no, you're correct. No one is above the law. And that's why Gavin Newsom would be prosecuted and should be prosecuted if he had broken the law. That's the problem, though. You haven't explained a law that he broke. And Trump was asked specifically about it and said he ran for governor. Can you imagine? Please, close your eyes. Imagine Joe Biden standing at a podium talking about something. We are the United States of America, folks. There's nothing we can't do. We do it together. The idea of America. Liberty, justice, humanity. It's the idea of America, folks. And a reporter goes, Mr. President, what? I'm over here. Oh, what? Let's talk about Pastor. Tell me something. Mr. President, what crime do you think that Trump committed to justify his prosecution that you're not a part of, but it's happening? He ran for dog catcher. No, he ran for president. MAGA would have, I don't even know what. Stormed the Capitol. Oh, they did that. They would have done something crazier. All right, then on the actual phones themselves, there's something a little suspicious going on. Before getting to Don Jr. advertising this, The Verge says, here's a roughly complete list of all the things we know for sure, but the first phone made for the new Trump mobile wireless provider. It's called the T1 phone, 8002 gold version. It costs $499, and you can reserve one now with a $100 down payment with the promo code ARREST. It is, according to the website, coming in September, and this author says that's all I feel confident saying. Beyond that, all we have is a website that was clearly put together quickly and somewhat sloppily, a promise that the phone is designed and built in the USA. That's the part they're going to get asked about and kind of waffle on, that I absolutely do not believe. A picture that appears to be nearly 100% photoshopped, and a list of specs that doesn't make a lot of sense together. The existence of a gold version makes it seem like they would have a non-gold version, but that's not advertised. There's no processor listed, even though there's a section for it on the site, and processors are pretty important. Even without that, as far as I can tell, there's not a single phone currently on the market that matches these specs. If you find one, tell me about it. Some of them are fairly standard in the non-premium Android world, and the combination of the spec list and the image bears no resemblance to any phone I could find on the market. And it just, something's off. Something's very strange about this. Aside from the fact, I saw someone say, why don't you just put the presidential seal on it and just go make this as blatant as it can be. Now we have the meme coin, this Melania coin, and so many other ways that they're giving access to funneling money to Trump. So here is Don Jr. when asked about it being manufactured in the United States. He says, yes, we'll have a call center.
A brand new Trump device made here in the United States of America. St. Louis. Why did you pick St. Louis, Don?
Well, listen, we're going to be having call centers for Trump Mobile in St. Louis, so we're keeping our data onshore. We're going to be manufacturing the phones. Again, you can keep your existing phone, obviously, if you want to, but if you want...
That part's weird. Why are you manufacturing them in St. Louis? Yes, we're going to do call centers in St. Louis. Call centers? That's not the same.
Existing phone, obviously, if you want to, but if you want, American hardware built by Americans here in America without the potential, let's call it, backdoor into the hardware that some of our adversaries may have installed in there. It's really about everything we're doing, Benny. It's America first, making sure our things are as secure as they can, create value for people in America, create jobs for Americans. We're just excited about it.
All right, maybe it is going to be manufactured. It seems there's just a lot of question marks as to what's happening here, not too many specifics. And I feel like you're going to have all these MAGAs buying it, and then it's going to be hecka defective. And they're going to be, but they're going to be trying, America first, having their Trump phone, and another way that they're grifted. And then Eric Trump was also advertising this.
We're doing the same thing with Trump Mobile right now. I'm incredibly excited. You can build these phones in the United States. Our customer service is in the United States. It's in St. Louis, Missouri. We can add more functionality. We can do it cheaper.
Wait, this is such suspicious wording. I always go back to the detective example. Did you murder this person? I can say that I definitely wouldn't murder. Can say that I definitely wouldn't. So, is it manufactured here? It can be.
We're doing the same thing with Trump Mobile right now. I'm incredibly excited. You can build these phones in the United States.
You can.
Our customer service is in the United States. It's in St. Louis, Missouri. We can add more functionality. We can do it cheaper. We can do it better. And eventually all the phones can be built in the United States of America. We have to bring manufacturing back here. And so our ethos is...
Yeah. And eventually I'm not going to eat any cheeseburgers. Eventually. I might be dead, but eventually I'm going to stop eating them.
And eventually all the phones can be built in the United States of America. We have to bring manufacturing back here. And so our ethos is, build for Americans, by Americans, do it cheaper, do it better. Monthly plans, $47 a month, which we kind of thought was fun and cool. Unlimited calling, unlimited text, over 100 countries around the world.
I'm suspicious. I'm very suspicious. I was thinking about Eric Trump. Just both Eric Trump and Don Jr. have such strange mannerisms. You saw at the top of the segment, just kind of something I think about a lot when we cover folks is I can't imagine hanging out with them. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, I don't like their politics, or they go on TV and they act kind of weird, but I know that probably privately they're fine and pleasant to hang out with. But there's some people in our politics, like the kids of Trump, that I just wouldn't really... I mean, I could definitely have a Chardonnay with Ivanka, let's be honest. We could definitely watch, like, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, like, no politics for the night. But the other two, I definitely couldn't. And so I asked Jaden, producer Jaden, I said, can you, just for a joke, can you find a video of somebody that I would probably be uncomfortable hanging out with, but then I'll make the point that I would even rather hang out with them than the Trump kids. And this is the video he sent me. Let's watch.
Hello, Princess. I hear you're feeling a bit down. Well, you know what they say, laughter is the best medicine. So tell me, what happened when the frog's car was broken down? It got towed. That's one of my personal favorites. Are you feeling better? I've got more jokes if you're not.
Interesting, Jaden.
I don't know what the that was.
No, I don't. But yeah, I would much rather hang out with the Hey Princess guy. He seems nice. I don't know what the problem is. He seems nice. He seems funny. I would much rather tell jokes with him than hang out with the Trump kids.
I don't snort cocaine!
Yeah, and the phones are going to be fully manufactured in the U.S. So here is a little bit more from Eric Trump.
This morning, you've got an announcement on a new phone. Tell me about that and what you're looking to, quote unquote.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine being at a dinner party with Maria Bartiromo, Eric Trump, and Don Jr.? I don't snort cocaine. Could you pass the potatoes? My dad loves me. He loves me. Woof. Give me the Hey Princess guy 7 days a week.
Morning, you've got an announcement on a new phone. Tell me about that and what you're looking to, quote unquote, correct here.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Maria, more and more we're using.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Maria, more and more we're using technology as a company, right, to correct the problems. Obviously, Truth Social was to correct freedom of speech, right? I mean, he lost his throughout the political process. Obviously, crypto, and we've got the biggest projects in crypto, was to correct another problem, which is the fact that they were debanking all conservatives. I was the most canceled person probably in the history of the country. And
they were not.
Now we're doing Trump Mobile, and Trump Mobile is going to revolutionize cell phones, mobile calling. We're going to do it better. We're going to do it safer. We're going to have more functionality, more features. And the coolest thing about all these ventures is we're doing it right here in the United States. You're not calling up call centers in Bangladesh. You're not, you're doing it right out of St. Louis, Missouri. And you're going to have phones that are made right here in the United States of America. And it's going to be cheap.
Eventually.
Cheaper, $47 a month. You're going to have more international dialing for free, hundreds of countries, international dialing for free. It is the biggest bang for the buck. And we're really excited to get into the space. I mean, when you take kind of technology.
All right, let me just ask him one question. Is this going to be an utter failure?
Yeah.
Share thoughts in the comments.